All right, everybody, good evening. One more defensive end video. I know it's a lot, but there are a lot of these guys out there, and I do think that when you have a new coaching staff, you need to more thoroughly explore the possibility that your coaches want to flip things over a little bit and bring in a lot of new guys. So, one more video, and then we'll be moving on to new positions tomorrow. But we're still going to be looking at depth guys. These are guys who should be very, very cheap, like 2 million a year, a little bit less, maybe a tiny bit more. But if you need to go more than 2 million, you should probably walk away. Here are some guys that I think would fit the bill as a depth guy behind Leonard and Draymond. First guy we're going to take a look at in this video is Tier Tart, defensive tackle, most recently for the Houston Texans, about to turn 27 in a few days, so age is not any kind of a concern. He's played for the Titans on top of playing for the Texans for a little bit last year. Most of his career was spent in Tennessee in that 3-4 defense with Vrabel, so we know he can do it. He's also dabbled a little bit in nose tackle as well as defensive tackle, so he could do the 4-eye stuff, I think. And he's just one of those guys who gets in there and grinds. He doesn't do anything too crazy in terms of individual production. 2022 was his best season, 34 tackles and a sack and a half. But overall, he would just be a decent depth guy. PFF grade was not particularly strong last year, but this is typically what you get from guys at this level. You go back to 2022, really nice. Really all-around solid player in a limited role. So you can get him in a role like that, again, where you're just kind of rotating him in sparingly, kind of like you did with Mario Edwards last year. I think you're going to get something that is pretty darn workable. Okay, so next guy I want to take a look at here would be Raheem Nunez Roches. Raheem Nunez Roches. Most recently of the New York Giants, former Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he's got a good amount of experience playing in 3-4 defenses. He did under Sutton in Kansas City, and then he did in Tampa Bay. He even spent a year where he was mostly playing nose tackle. And in 2023, he played under Wink Martindale with the New York Giants. So this guy's a 3-4 guy for sure. Never a guy with huge production. His best year in terms of raw production was 2022 with 2 sacks and 33 tackles. But he's been part of some really impressive defenses in Tampa Bay. Some of those Tampa Bay teams that won the Super Bowl or made a playoff run, he was a relevant part of it. So I look at Raheem Nunez Roches and I go, he can wear. Sorry if you can hear my dog, by the way. He can wear a few different hats on that defensive line and provide quality depth for you. PFF not kind to his most recent season in New York with the Giants, another team with a terrible offense, by the way. And obviously that can have a real effect on your defense. In 2022, they graded him out okay. In 2021, they graded him out pretty good, actually, pretty solidly. In 2020, not so much, but this was the year I believe he was playing mostly nose tackle. Maybe that means that he should ultimately be left to play the 4-eye role. Age is starting to become a concern. He's about to turn 31. So there's probably going to be a little bit of slippage, but not a lot. It's not like this guy's ever played a ton of snaps in his career. So Raheem Nunez Roches would slide in nicely as a depth piece on this defensive line. Last year he made $4 million. I don't think he's going to get that this year. He might get like 2 million, right? Him and Tier Tart both are probably going to be lucky just to get a little more than the veteran minimum. So I don't think money would be an issue. And you just toss him into your rotation. Next guy will be Adam Butler, most recently of the Las Vegas Raiders. This guy's about to turn 30 years old. He's also a former Super Bowl champion with the Patriots back in 2018. Since then, he's missed a full year of football in 2022. He took that year off, basically. But he also dabbled with the Dolphins and then dabbled with the Raiders last year. Never been a full-time starter, but he's been part of rotations for some years now. Had some nice seasons. He's coming off a pretty impressive year for an interior defensive lineman. 5 sacks on a pretty decent defense in Las Vegas. So some pretty good work from Adam Butler lately. And you could probably count on him to slide into that 4-eye role and be somewhat disruptive because throughout his career, he's been a little more on the disruptive side. PFF thinks that he played fairly well in 2023. They're very harsh on his run defense, but as you can see, most places he's been, a vast majority of his snaps have been pass rush snaps. So he's a quote-unquote pass rush specialist on the interior. So if you're talking about getting Adam Butler, he's somebody you might want to rotate in on passing downs, somebody you want to rotate in on third and long and things like that. And I think you could get pretty good results out of him. 300 pounds, by the way, so right in line with what you would expect from a guy in a 3-4 defense typically. On that, and again, his weight, which is a little bit heavier than a guy like, say, Shelby Harris, has not inhibited him from being a disruptive part of a defensive line. So you look at 2023, he made $1.5 million that year. So he played well, so maybe he gets a little bit of a bump up to like 2 or 2.5 million, but I don't think much more than that. This guy's clearly one-dimensional and rotational, so I think that something like 1 year, 2 million would totally work for him, and you'd be fairly satisfied with the result. So Adam Butler would be near the top of my list of depth guys to get on that interior defensive line. Next guy will be a guy in a similar boat here, Jihad Ward. Now, Jihad Ward is somebody who's been bouncing around the league for a little while now, playing, interestingly enough, a lot of edge rusher in recent years. The Giants played him at edge rusher for the last couple of years. Jacksonville kind of moved him back and forth. So did the Ravens, by the way, a little bit of crossover with Mike McDonald and Jihad Ward in Baltimore. So early in his career, he was kind of playing on the defensive line. And then as time has gone on, he spent more time as like an edge defender, kind of like what we did with Draymond Jones last year, where we put him at edge a lot because Nwosu got hurt and Derek Hall wasn't able to step up to replace him. So Jihad Ward, PFF really, really doesn't like him in recent years. You can go back through these recent years. All the grades are bad. But one thing that I found kind of interesting is as you peel it back to years like 2020 and I think 2018 as well, it's a lot better, and these were years where he was playing on the line. So maybe if you got Jihad Ward and you put him back on the interior, like playing 4-eye in a 3-4 on that defensive line, full-time or close to full-time, you'd get good results. I think that some of these results that PFF doesn't like might be a result of him kind of perpetually playing that edge role that he's not really suited for. He's about to turn 30, so age is not a huge concern yet. And I think this is an opportunity to get a guy at a pretty low cost. I know he put up some decent numbers last year, but I don't think he's going to get more than like 1 year, 2 million. And there could be some real upside here with him because of that thing I just said. He's been playing what seems to me to be out of position for a while now. He's playing edge rusher in a 3-4 at 285 pounds. That very rarely works in the NFL. Some guys get away with it at the college level, like the Bowling Green guy last year that we talked about some. I can't remember his name, who was like almost 300 pounds, maybe even over. But in the NFL, that's tough. That's really hard to make work. So I'd be interested in that. Final guy, and this is another guy with ties to Mike McDonald from the last couple years in Baltimore. It's Brent Urban. Now this guy's getting up there. He's about to turn 33, so age is starting to become a thing. 310 pounds, a little bit on the heavier side, but the last few years, he's been playing the 3-4 edge end in Baltimore. So he's been coached under Mike McDonald these last 2 years. 2023 had 3 sacks and 22 tackles. In previous years, he spent a lot of time in Baltimore as well, by the way, so there's even more overlap. But obviously, the most recent years are the ones we care about the most. He spent a little bit of time with Tennessee, with Chicago, with Dallas. So he's been around, but he's been a consistently worthy of playing player, and I believe that the familiarity that there is with McDonald could motivate a signing. The money should not be too bad at all. I think last year he made like $1.5 million. Actually not even 1.165. He was making the veteran minimum. So maybe you get him for 1.2. Maybe he's just like, let me stick around in this league. Let me be coached by a coach that I have a relationship with. I'm not looking to break the bank here. I just want to be in this league. Give me 1.2 and I'll be quiet. PFF, by the way, was okay with his 2023. They thought he was respectable for a guy who just plays in a rotation on a really good defense. The year before, not so much. You peel it back far enough, though. You go back to 2020, the COVID year, and there's some really good stuff here. So this guy has a foundation. This guy has a history of being a very good and capable player in this league. It's just a matter of, are you going to be able to put him in the right position to do it? Does he have enough left in the tank to do it? 6'7", by the way. You don't find very many defensive ends with that kind of height. You get him and Shelby Harris on this defensive line, you're going to be knocking down passes like crazy. So that could be fun. But yeah, Brent Urban for the veteran minimum, just for the familiarity, would work. It would be nice. I think it would be a pretty good pickup. And that's all I got in terms of depth guys. There are more guys. I could have made more videos about guys like, I don't know, Neville Gallimore or Maurice Hurst and some of these guys who might be able to do it. You could go on and on and on because there are so many defensive linemen out there. But those are the guys who stood out to me the most as guys that I would really like to just pull in here in this offseason, depending on the path we decide to go down. So these guys would firmly be in depth territory, but I provided good options for whatever path we want to take. Spend big money, spend good money, spend a little money, spend very little money. So, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Probably on Twitch right now. If I'm not, I will be soon. So, if you want to pop on over there and say hi, see you there. If not, more videos coming tomorrow. We will continue to look at more stuff going on this defense, moving to probably linebacker.